if we are searching for a new we now, what are the ingredients we need?
I think the contemporary moment gives us both tremendous challenges and opportunities to really look for different types of ways that can live together. We all watch TV and we see terrible catastrophes, basically humanitarian disasters, and our humanitarian sympathy goes, and so suddenly we are then member of an imagined community of a global humanity. This is part of we. But of course, at the practical level, political level, we cannot have a political global community, and this would not be very good to have a one single global state. The same way with religion. Obviously, we still may identify with one religious community, Christianity or Buddhism, Islam, but there are possibilities of really, really tremendous intercultural encounters. In all the global cities today, all these religions have to live together. Their neighbors belong to different religions, and there is all kinds of encounters in which then people can accept that I have my own religion, they have their religion, mine obviously is the one I'm in love, but I can love all religions. So I don't need to basically be only obsessively in love with my own and then reject all the others. I can be in love with my own, but I love the other religions as well. So at the religious level, there is this possibility. At the national level, the European Union has opened the way of freeing us from a single European nation, nation state, right? And to be both German and European, or Dutch and European, Spanish and European. So again, a possibility. And then of course, if we create, the more democratic societies become, the more also the local municipal communities become important. So the important thing is to create different levels of belonging from the very, you could say, from the very familial kinship and kind of a voluntary associations, and the local, and the national, the transnational, the global, the trans-religious. And this is happening today, but of course it's happening not without conflict. It's happening sometimes with very difficult conditions, particularly in situations in which people are still caught within a world of very, very clearly defined territorial or boundaries of belonging or community belonging. And then it becomes very difficult.
But just coming back to this blurring of boundaries, I mean, when you have a look at the people in the Netherlands now, they say we don't want to belong to a community anymore. We are individuals. We want to choose by ourselves where we want to be and with which group we want to be. So sometimes there is only me and some
right.
2 or 3 others. There is no longer this group.
Right.
This
is one, I think, of the consequences of liberation from enforced confessional collective identity. Europeans are basically associate modernity with individual freedom, the freedom of individual from the community. It's very interesting, the whole structure of European social science is based on the separation of, or the distinction of Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. Gemeinschaft is this enclosed community, right? Personal, very, very tight. And Gesellschaft is made up of totally unrelated individuals. But of course, this is not Tocqueville, so in America, this is not the way modern societies develop. It's simply the formation of new type of voluntary communities, voluntary associations that made then civil society possible. Pure individuals forming societies leads to a form of atomism, and it's a very problematic notion of society in which individuals, of course it's very much the liberal notion of individuals entering contracts with one another, but de facto we know that we are never individuals autonomous. We are born as mammals, we are dependent on others for a long time, we are always dependent on others.
But this, I think this is very much a theoretical concept, because when you look at the Netherlands now, these problems are really
Of
there.
course, it's a theoretical concept. This is the ideology of modernity. Modernity, Europe, precisely to free itself from the structures of community imposed, had to overemphasize individualism at every level. And so you have, this appears in Cartesian rationalism, right? And the notion of Descartes, the dream of Descartes to be born as a 20-year-old, ready-made, not having to become through the childhood and not having to go through, become a mammal. So you don't want to be born a mammal, you want to be born as a fully rational machine, 20-year-old. So this is, and then happens obviously in Hobbes, happens in Locke. So the whole structure of Western modern thought is based precisely on this construction. Now we know that this is a very unique construction, and it was perhaps necessary as a project but then it has consequences. So if one takes it too literally, we know that this is not true, but insofar as people themselves associate this as the model of individuals they want to be, then of course it has consequences for the structure of society. Now the question is, if I free myself from ascribed communities in order to be open to embrace all types of solidarity, this is very good. If I free myself from that so they can become voluntarily open to join Buddhists, to join people in Sri Lanka when they are in, so to have sympathy, compassion, not only for my close ones, but for anybody, anywhere. So the question is, freeing oneself from a community to become open to other communities is very good. Freeing oneself from a community to become an autonomous atom, I think, is a problematic conception.
Do you think that that is the type of how it went? I mean, people are always related, I think, to other people, but not anymore in a kind of groups concept.
Yes,
I mean, it's not, it's different now, and we have to deal with that. People don't want to be a part of a political party, for example.
But this is the important notion of Tocqueville voluntary associations. Tocqueville was the only modern social scientist that rejected the notion, the fundamental conceptions of the Enlightenment when it comes to religion, but also the fundamental notions of a contractual form of society. He realized that the principles, the two principles of liberty and equality, which are the two fundamental values of modern democracy and of modern societies, are fundamental in tension, that one cannot happen without basically challenging the other. So he accepts the fundamental tension between liberty, which is ultimately, as he puts it, the privilege and aristocratic value, and equality that goes against liberty. And so we have to recognize this tension first. And second, rather than accepting that we free ourselves from communities, what he saw in the United States was precisely the principle of voluntary associations. And America is a society based precisely on voluntary association. Religion is a voluntary association, which is then the school for all forms of voluntary associations, for all forms of democracy, all forms of clubs, and the whole thing. Everything is civil society in America. Schools, churches, universities, markets, philanthropy, everything. Nothing comes from above, from the state. Of course, it's a very different model from the European. The Europeans, we sometimes have a state model of society and then wants to have a purely individualist model. But we had corporatist arrangements, precisely in the Netherlands. It was based on corporatist groups, but precisely the people now want to be free from these corporatist groups. But the question is whether we are free from them to become completely loose and without any attachments to any individuals, other individuals, or whether it frees us to join precisely in solidarity with others in different countries in different ways. Before, if I was a Catholic, I could not have contact with Protestants, right? I could not marry them, I could not play soccer with them, I could not watch TV with them. We will have different bars, we will have different schools. Now we can be together, right? But the question is to create forms precisely of solidarity, of multiple interests. We are mutually related in very different ways. Our relations in work, leisure, kinship are very different. They don't have to be all one single pyramid.
Yes, but if we are looking for this solidarity now,
Right.
what can combine us? Is it more values at that moment where we have to look at to find these
Right.
binding stuff, or this kind of working together? Or because in the Netherlands it's really the fact that a lot of young people really don't know anything about Christianity anymore.
Well, this is
60% of the people are no longer affiliated to a church community.
Right.
I mean, all these community things are blurring. And it's no longer the effect.
Because the interesting thing, because in Europe we didn't know how to move from the territorial parishes to voluntary communities. That's why the famous French sociologist, Lebras, had the famous statement: the moment a peasant from Normandy sets foot in Le Gare de Montparnasse, he ceases being Catholic. He ceases going, because he doesn't go to church. And not being Catholic means ceasing being religious altogether. So you just leave the church and you leave religious associations altogether. Now then you could say working class associations for a while basically supplanted the religious one. But now those are also gone. In the United States, people actually build constantly new religious communities. For instance, 40% of all Americans have changed their religious denominational affiliations since childhood. And I'm talking not Protestant to Protestant, Baptist to Methodist, but Catholic to Protestant, Protestant to Jew, Jew to Muslim. 40%, this is unthinkable in Europe. I'm not saying that this is a model for Europe. What I'm saying is that we realize here how different contexts create different possibilities.
But I think in Europe it's now also a kind of just mixing these kind of things, but not being going to a new group.
Right,
but they are...
Exactly. No, but what I'm saying is that the model in America was, if you don't like the community where you are in, you choose the community you like. So you simply change communities.
Yeah.
While here, when you leave the community you belong, you don't join any other community.
Yes, that's
so
true.
this is a different model. And it had to do with the fact that Europe didn't have a model really of voluntary associations. It had a model of parish, territorial. We were incarnated, and when this disappears in the urban context, it's very difficult to reconstruct. You have elements, you have moments of mobilization, of reconfessionalization, where this happens. And in the 60s, there was actually also an explosion of different types of voluntary groups. But this has been diluted in Europe now. And I'm not saying that one should reconstruct, one can reconstruct it. Ultimately, those things, I mean, as a sociologist, you have to be realist, and those things will somehow emerge. But how it's going to emerge, we don't know. We don't know how it's going to emerge. And it emerges out of very dynamic interactions. Obviously, the presence of Muslims in Europe has led, on the one hand, to a re-encountering with a Christian cultural identity for many people, or with a kind of a assertion of a secular anti-religious identity for others. Those are two different dynamic ways of responding to the Muslim other within our midst. Some may lead to other religious people to say, well, let's find interreligious dialogue, let's find bridges also with Muslims, right? Others will say, no, let's reestablish our either Muslim difference or our secular difference. So those are alternative ways of responding to particular concrete situations.
Do you think that we need a new theory of pluralism?
Yes, we need new categories. Relation dynamics, interconnectedness, interconnected histories. So we cannot anymore tell the story of the West without telling the colonial story. We cannot anymore tell the story of the other without telling the story of the West. So our stories, histories are interconnected. Our definitions are interconnected, and we have to. And of course, we cannot have simply a third person objective perspective from which to look at this history. We ourselves are part of this dynamic, and so the best we can do is to try ourselves to put ourselves in different dynamic contexts from which we see the multiplicity of contexts and perspectives. So the dream of an objective scientific analysis, we should give it up, and at best we can aim to understand the very collective autobiographies that go into the construction of these fields.
And what does this mean for universality?
For universality means a recognition that every universality is particular, has a particular time and place, and that they are also changing. They are relative in the sense of particular, and therefore they are multiple, and they are competing. So you don't have one single universality, you have multiple universalities competing with one another. Now, when you argue, if you have competing universalities, by definition they are not universal, they are particular, yes, but they have universal claims. So what you have, the universality only resides in the claim, in the aspiration, in the eschatological project, not in the reality. The reality is always particular. But it's very important to have universal claims, because otherwise you get to relativism. So multiple cosmopolitanisms are possible to recognize, and we shouldn't think that because universalisms are multiple, therefore they are relative and everything is relative. Relativism is giving up the task of searching for universal principles. Flexible, pragmatic universalism is one which recognizes that universalism is always situated, particular time and space, cannot transcend this time and space, and it's going to be transformed, and it enters in contact, in dynamic tension with other competing universalisms. So the idea is, how do we learn to understand the very different and very complex ways in which we have become indeed a global humanity.